Today's video we are going to learn about friend function. A friend function is a non-member function. It is not a member of the class. It's a non-member of a class and has access permission to the private members of the class. The friend function is declared within a class with a prefix friend. So before a friend function you will be having a keyword friend. Then it is a friend function. But it should be defined outside the class like a normal function without a prefix friend. Inside the class it should have a prefix friend, but outside the class when it has been defined, there is no need to use the keyword prefix. It will be defined like a normal function. The syntax for the friend function, that is a friend function will be declared inside the class. So class is a keyword here and class name is the name of the class. Inside the bracket we have a public access specifier. Friend function can be declared either as private or public. Here we have been declared as public and your friend is a keyword. Return type it can be int, float, char and the function name of the function. Then you have arguments. What are the arguments are there, that has to be inside the bracket. Then we have a semicolon. Here the function, that is a friend function, is being declared inside the class. Using a prefix friend, we are declaring a friend function inside the class. This is the syntax for declaring the friend function. Friend function is not a member function of the class. It is not a member of a class, the friend function, but has full access permission to private and protected members of the class. It can access the data members and member functions which have been declared inside the class can be accessed by the friend function. It can be declared either as public or private part of the class. As I showed you in the syntax, it has been declared as public. It can also be declared as private or public inside the class. A friend function cannot be called using the object of that class. It need not be called using the object of the class. Like a normal function, we are using a object name dot and then the function name. But a friend function cannot be called using the object of that class. It can be invoked like any normal function without using the object of that class. The function is declared with a keyword friend, but while defining the friend function, it does not use either a keyword friend or a scope resolution operator. In case of a normal function that has been defined inside the class, in order to define the member function outside the class, we will use the scope resolution operator. But in case of a friend function, there is no need to use a scope resolution operator, or neither the keyword friend is used when you are defining a friend function outside the class. Mostly the friend function has been defined outside the class, not inside the class. They are normal external functions that are given special access privileges. They are also now functions which have been defined inside the class, but they are given access privileges in order to access the private and protected members of the class. The friend function are just an external functions that are being used. It cannot access the data member variables directly. It has to use an object name dot member name. In case the friend function has to access any members of the class, it has to use the object name, then it has to use a dot operator and then the member name. This is an example program for the friend function. In this program we are using a friend function. We have two header files over here, that is hash include iostream.h and hash include conio.h. And then you have a class is a keyword and temp is the class name. Then inside the class we have got int x y add, int x y add, that is x y add are the variables of integer type. Int is the data type. When there is no access specifier specified inside the class, by default it will be private. And next we have a public. Public is a access specifier which is used inside the class when we have member functions that can be accessed throughout the program, then we specify it as public. So here the member functions we have got, that is one member function is input, the other member function is add, and the third member function is display. So the first that is input member function void input, the declaration and definition both is done inside the class. Here we have cout, enter the value of x and y. So two values have been accepted here. That is, for example, if we accept 2 and 3, two values, that is x value is 2 and y value is 3. Two values have been accepted. Now what we do is we have the next member function, that is add. Here this statement over here, this entire statement, that is this entire statement over here is called as friend function. Okay, this is the friend function. Okay, this is the friend function over here. And the next, that is here we have friend as the keyword. That is always a friend function will have a prefix of friend. Void is the return type and add is the function name. Temp ampersand t is the arguments which are passed. Here we have void display. The void display, the sum is, that is you are displaying your output. Then you are closing the bracket and then you have to put a semicolon. Then the class has been defined. Now the next member function over here which has been declared over here, the friend function has been declared but it has been defined outside the class. So here void is the return type and add is the function name, temp ampersand t are the arguments, t is the object name and dot is our dot operator we are using in order to access the members of the class, and equal t dot x plus t dot y. So x value and y value, that is here we are given x value as 2 and y value as 3. So these two values will be added and it will be stored in add. So add contains 5, that value will be stored in add, 5 value will be stored in add. So we are adding two numbers and storing the value. So we are finished with the friend function over here. See here you can see that the friend function which has been declared inside the class as a prefix friend here, but when you are defining we don't have any prefix friend over here, only just the void and add. We are not using any scope resolution operator also in order to access that friend function. And when we are accessing the members of the class, we are using the object name, that is t, and the member name, that is add. Again object name and object name is t and x is the member name. Again t is the object name and y is the member name. So in order to access the members of the class we have to use the object name dot member name. So this part is called as friend function definition, and this part is called as declaration, that is friend function declaration. Now coming to the void main, that is every function should have a main function. We always any program will start from the main function. So once the class has been defined here we have the class name temp and t1 is the object name, t1 is the object which are used. Okay, so t1 is the object which is used, and using this object name we are able to access the member functions of the class. So the control will go, that is input is been called here, the member function, the control will go to this input and we will accept the two values, then add. See here the difference between this function, that is input, and the friend function. So when we are calling a friend function, there is no need to use the object name, that is t1 is not used for the friend function, but for other functions we will be using the t1, that is object name. So add t1, the control will go to the add. Okay, the argument what we are passing is t1. Here we are passing it as the address of t. So temp is the class name and t is the object name, address of object. In order to access the members of the class we are passing this object over here, and add is the function name, friend function name. And then we have t1 dot display. T1 is the object name and display is again a member function name. So the control will go to the display and it will display the output. In this case here when it goes to add here, So you are going to add. So what are the values of x and y? 2 plus 3, 5. 5 will be stored in add, and when you display that, when the control goes to display, the sum is 5 will display. So it is a simple program, but only thing we are using a friend function in order to add the two numbers. So the variables we are using three variables here, x and y for the input and add is for the output, and three member functions we are using. One member function for the input, the second member function add has been declared as a friend function, and here the processing takes place in the add, but it has been defined outside the class and declared inside the class, and then you have void display in order to display the output. This entire thing is called as class definition. And here we have a friend function, and we are calling the friend function inside the void main, so the control will go to the friend function, but we are not using the object name over here. So T1 is not used along with the friend function name. In order to access that members of the class, we have to use the object name, but when we are accessing the member function name, there is no need to use the object name. So this is how a friend function works.